morning. Welcome to the Monday edition of Inside Nigeria. It's reaching you on Leadership Television. Today is 13th of February 2023. So sorry for bringing the program a bit behind schedule due to some circumstances beyond our control. But we are here now to actually do justice to the leading headline stories on some major select newspapers. My name is Winifred Webo, and with me in the studio is an in-house analyst. He is Paul Augustine
Pleasure to be here.
Normalcy to return. So, viewers, we are taking some of the headline stories this Monday, and of course, we are flagging up with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. And Leadership, with some other papers, have the same leading story this Monday. Just stay tuned. Leadership says Naira swap. Governors warn of recession as crunch bites harder. Naira swap. Governors warn of recession as cash crunch bites harder. Ask PNB, CBN to listen to voice of reason. Private sector cries out over shortage. Low says. POS transactions slump by 13%. I feel your pains, Tinubu tells Nigerians. PDP insists APC holding new notes in states. I'll take leadership's leading story once again. Naira swap. Governors warn of recession as cash crunch bites harder. Ask PNB, CBN to listen to voice of reason. Private sector cries out over shortage. Low says. POS transactions slump by 13%. I feel your pains, Tinubu tells Nigerians. PDP insists APC holding new notes in states. Just like leadership, Vanguard also has similar stories. It says, cash squeeze as rejection of old note spreads. Cash squeeze as rejection of old note spreads. Banks await Fed directives from CBN. POS operators defy CBN's threat on charges. Association gives reasons. Naira black market booms as more banks branches close. Okada riders, petrol stations, others sell Naira. New note scarcity persists. We have made our recommendations. Customers Association. And still on Vanguard newspaper, we have another sub story. Old notes deadline. Governors direct attorney generals to review suit at Supreme Court. Old notes deadline. Governors direct attorney generals to review suit at Supreme Court. That is the leading stories on Vanguard. And still on Vanguard newspaper, Naira redesign stop economic chaos. NECA urges federal government. Naira redesign stop economic chaos. NECA urges federal government. Still on the Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard newspaper, as incidentally on this cover, has so many stories on this cash crunch because we have still above the masthead of Vanguard, Naira scarcity. Tinubu lists his ways out of current sufferings. Naira scarcity. Tinubu lists his ways out of current sufferings. PDP urges Tinubu APC to stop punishing Nigerians. From Vanguard, we move over to THISDAY. THISDAY has similar story. THISDAY says governors move to stall Supreme Court reversal of currency swap till after election. Governors move to stall Supreme Court reversal of currency swap till after election. Using gender suits of Kano, Ondo, Ekiti to delay verdict, lobby judges. Urge federal government CBN to respect rule of law. Justice Ministry yet to receive certified true copy of ruling. Retaining old notes will jeopardize fight against fraud, corruption. CBN tests Akure Court. Resist politicians' vote buying antics. Catholic bishops tell Nigerians. Paul, what do you think about this Naira or cash squeeze as Nigerians continue to suffer the delay or economic chaos as Tinubu puts it?
Yes, basically, for me personally, the policy is not a bad one,
Yes.
so to say. Some of us have been engaging in e-transaction for a very long time, over 5 years. It has been convenient for us. Some of us only visit bank only when it is
necessary.
necessary, especially banks that issues that have to do with reversal and things like that. And as I'm talking to you now, I still have like two reversal that 1,008, 2,000 naira that I've not been able to do to the bank. Generally, it's not a bad policy, but the only problem with it is just the cash squeeze. Taking out about nearly 2 trillion of the circulation and injecting less than 500 billion.
Exactly.
So to
Yes,
speak,
because they told us about 300 billion
yeah,
they injected.
because if you follow the politicians' rules, you go astray.
Yes.
But the politicians always want to say something that looks favorable to them and their supporters. Uh, Let us just allege that CBN only printed less than 500 billion naira, and less than after taking out about 2 trillion of circulation and injecting less than 500 billion in a system where businesses, trading are still being conducted in the archaic, in the informal we do business. You give me cash, I give you cash, and we move on. A lot of people don't have an account, and those who have not been they've not been engaging in all this electronic transfer. So basically, what we need, and that's why we need even government agencies like the National Orientation Agency and others, Federal Ministry of Information, even at the state and local government, to educate people that it's even safer for you. You will more disciplined financially. Try and adopt this new technology. Recall in 2002 when the GSM, the telcos introduced GSM into the Nigerian economy. A lot of people were unwilling. People started getting phone, Nokia, and things like that. Gradually, we now graduated to internet-enabled phones. Then people started accessing Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and so on. A lot of people now are now embracing this new technology. So it will take a while. It's a good policy, no doubt. But the only problem I have with CBN is this. Why don't you, the level of liquidity in the Nigerian economy is poor. It's poor. Yes, because you have majority, and we believe that about 60% of our population live in rural communities. And this rural community, how many of them have access to financial institutions like Yobe State, that has about 17 local government? Only 4 local government has banks, operational banks. It means that 18 local government operate without banks. So it is cash and carry. So what happens to them? So what we need is to inject more liquidity into the system. At least inject up to like 1 trillion naira. You have taken out 2 trillion, inject like 1 trillion, then gradually
you
will be mopping the money back again. Because as it is now, it's making life very, very difficult.
No, but don't you think that this Supreme Court judgment, with some governors going to court to get how do you call it, legal standing or to stop the
Injunction.
Injunction to get court injunction, has it not further worsened the dilemma? Because as it is now, many banks, as papers reported, they are still not accepting, and there's been no formal statement from CBN whether they should go ahead, they should honor the Supreme Court judgment or not.
You will not blame the CBN because one, the CBN was not joining the suit.
But the federal government was.
Yes, the federal government. The CBN is waiting for the Attorney General and Minister of Justice that just said it has not been given the certified true copy of the judgment. Until the Attorney General gets that certified true copy of the judgment, then the Attorney General will now prepare a memo interpreting the message to the CBN. So CBN cannot act because one, CBN was not joining the suit. And this governor suddenly they've now become defenders of the people, the heroes of the people. Suddenly, they were not heroes of the people when spaghetti and other things were stored somewhere, and people were hungry during that COVID-19 period. They were not defenders of the people when ASU went on strike for many months. Even when doctors went on strike for many months, they were not defenders of the people. They were not defenders of the people when Nigerians, decided to abandon 1 million naira job in Nigeria, 800,000, 1.5, to jackpot somewhere in England, in Australia, in Canada. They were not defender of the people. Suddenly, they have become defender of the people because their interest is at stake. In the next 9 or 10 days, their interest is at stake. Why is it that they are now so vocal? Because of vote buying. Let us be plain. Because of vote buying. And directing people that will go and spend the old naira notes, and nothing is happening. Suddenly, the governors are now, they want to implement the Supreme Court judgment. And meanwhile, the Supreme Court is going to hear the main suit on the 15th.
Now, Mr. Paul, there's something that is also worrisome because the federal government, the CBN did say that meat, talking about printing of new meat, because that's what you said about the way out of this logjam that is not able to print.
Yes.
So, what are we having here? You had a situation whereby that means was the policy was it in the right direction? Because all these thoughts would have been thought at. How could you say you have about almost 2 trillion naira in people's hands?
Yes, yes.
At the end of the day, you printed just 300 million.
You know, the CBN, they were not thinking the whole thing would go around to this level. They were thinking that people would just embrace the transaction and move on. No. How many people? Even those who are educated don't even do transaction. A lot of politicians is cash and carry.
Yes.
So I think
and there's no way to, because
beats
even
their imagination that Nigerians did not embrace
time
it.
sellers like pumpkin leaf, you go to the market, you still have to make cash payment.
Of course. What of the man that takes care of maize? Are you going to transfer 100 naira
to his account?
So basically, the Supreme Court,
there's no way
CBN,
you can do it entirely away with
the CBN did not say they didn't do their analysis well. They were thinking the policy will be embraced by all. So I look at the repercussions. It has happened. What is the way out? The Nigeria Security Minting and Printing Company, which is also a subsidiary of CBN, is saddled with the responsibility of printing.
Yes.
Going by the recommendation of the Council of State, if you can't print it, print abroad. Because the problem now is that there's no raw material.
But the Council of State said also, if you cannot print, that the old naira should not be distributed
with the new naira note.
And there's nothing.
And you know, because it's a psychological thing, there's nothing wrong with you spending new old naira notes. Yes. Because I saw filling stations, they're still collecting.
Yes.
And people are even bragging, please, I'll collect, give me. But you know, it has to do with the psychic of Nigerians. That look, I don't want to go through that hurdle of going to return money back to the bank. So please, I don't want it's a psychological thing. So now the challenge now is this: the printing company of the CBN cannot access raw material because they have to wait. They are placed order. It's not only Nigeria that buys from the company in Germany and England. There are other nations that have also placed order. So they go by how first come, first out. People first in, first out, and last in, last out. So the printing and minting company have to wait until she gets her supply because we cannot manufacture that sensitive currency papers.
Now, we're having a situation that more banks are also closing shop in Nigeria.
Yes.
So and we already we are battling inflation on our hands. Now, couple with this now, what is going to happen? What's the forecast?
Because Nigerians are becoming
Nigeria is
more
going to the election in a dismal economic outlook.
Yes. I think the overall purpose, objective of the whole currency policy basically has not been, somehow has been achieved. But
election
vote buying somehow. But I can assure you that a lot of why this currency cash crunch is affecting us. Smart politicians knew that, look, they knew what will happen today. So they got some of the cash yesterday, long ago.
Yes.
When Nigerians were still hesitating,
yes.
They were no, this kind of thing. They were food dragging. The politicians were holding the money. So they've stashed the money, the new naira notes, in their various votes back at home, waiting for the last 3 days to election. I can assure you that immediately after the presidential election, you will see the economy things will just ease. There will be more liquidity.
But another thing that you just mentioned that is similar to what you just mentioned. Why is the CBN not also clamping down on these MDs? They would have carried out their investigation through these graft agency like EFCC and the ICPC about over these bank MDs who actually sold Nigerians out.
It will be pretty difficult for the CBN because when those acts were being they were conducted seemingly legally.
Because we remember that the CBN did say that even as at November, huge sums of money were new loans. We already disbursed to
yes,
banks.
that was when some of those smart
these
politicians
banks were not disbursing it.
Yeah, they were not
You will still go
disbursing it
to even
because
January. I myself had even walked into a banking or one of the so-called new generation banks.
but Nigerians were not interested in the new naira
and they were
notes.
still giving out old naira notes.
Yes, they were not interested in the see that period that if you go to ATM and you get old naira, these monies have been hoarded. They've been given
yes,
to
they've been giving out to all these
parties.
politicians because I still remember that their ATMs were still bringing out disbursing.
I can show you that business has elements of politics.
Yes.
Most of the bankers are also politicians because they are the one that will benefit.
Cashing in.
Yes, they will cash in. They will also benefit if a government, if you pay somebody and he wins, he will not forget you. You recall, there's a serving governor today who was once a banker.
Yes, and even the VP presidential candidate was also a banker. APC.
Yes.
Also a banker.
So you tell me that since he became when he was a governor, he didn't favor his former bank. You tell me that the serving governor now in one of the states, you can't tell me that he did not favor his employer before. So these are some of the things. It is a system that has been dented by corruption. So when Nigerians were dragging over this new currency thing, these guys were busy hoarding it because they knew that the banks would run out of cash, and the bankers, they knew that CBN only printed limited numbers.
Yes.
So it's better you come and collect your cash now, or else you will not find it again. So the only way out, allow the two to run.
Yes.
That's
what the Council of State said. But at the end of the day,
also intensify efforts at printing. If the security and minting company is overwhelmed, print abroad. Is it not Germany we used to print before? You go there and print. Although, and that problem now is, where will the CBN have the funds? Because they don't print for free. Because you use money to print money. These are some of the challenges. But I can assure you that, look, after the presidential election, 11 days from today or so, or 12 days from today, we are going to see the new naira notes.
We can't wait because even Punch has a similar story on it that naira crisis, governors fear recession.
But everything has got its own positive and negative side. But I can show you that, look, Nigerians are becoming more disciplined now.
In terms of
spending
money.
Yes. It has instilled some level of discipline in us.
SA to President Muhammad Buhari did say that he withdrew 20. That is a Femi additional. That he withdrew 20,000 naira and he still has some of the money on him.
Yes, before if you withdraw 20,000, you spend it within a few hours. But now, if you withdraw 20,000, you consider a lot of things before you bring out cash now, and that is good for the economy. In the UK, there's an elderly man who has ever seen 50 pounds in his life. He saw it in the hand of the Nigerian and he screamed, 50 pounds. It makes an economy strong, and it reduces this elements of corrupt practices in us.
Now, let's talk politics. We are moving over to the Punch newspaper. The Punch's leading story above is wraparound advert says CAN, that is a Christian Association of Nigeria, probes alleged obese 2 billion naira lajees. PCC claims blackmail. It's a story that's at the end of the day, there was also a report that they were able to trace the so-called man that was blackmail. So what do you have to say about that?
Which of the PCC is claiming blackmail?
That is
Labour Party.
Labour Party presidential campaign council.
But the Labour Party should also be ready for development like this. I don't want to use the word attack, because once you've offered yourself for election, you'll be scrutinized from every angle.
All manner of
yes.
attacks will come.
Yes. 2 billion for what? why did the presidential candidate of Labour Party had to give 2 billion to the church or to Christian a religious body? Why? If it is true, why? Is that not a way of saying, look, when it comes, please tell your members to remind me? But I don't know until it's proven that 2 billion was actually received by some group of persons. Of course, they will fight back. They will not sit down. And they should be ready to take arrows like this.
But the one is they are labeling this accusation against alleged. Let me just say alleged. Is the man that they said he doesn't give shinshin. So
I was shocked. I was shocked, but you know, in Nigeria now, with the development, what we've seen in the last 7 years, we are shocked to the level that we are even resistant to shock. So actually, I was dazed when I heard when I saw the story, 2 billion from a man that rarely gives shishi. So he rubbishes this popular saying that they don't give shishi, but leave it at that level. The PCC of Labour should also understand that, look, this is politics. You should be ready to take arrows. The Bola Tinubu and the Atiku campaign, and even the Bonkoso group, have been receiving arrows from every corner. Drug, Dubai, this, that, and that. So to some level that they say the money stolen by, allegedly stolen by Atiku is enough to develop the entire Africa. No things like that. You should be ready, and that is why you need to have good public image managers. Yes.
No, a story just caught my attention on leadership. Leadership says the story actually is a leading one. Being the master. He said, despite court verdicts, customs auctions petrol-laden trucks as scrap. And Paul, this is why I'm reading this leading story is the fact that many people seem to bypass court judgment. They don't honor court judgment. Why is that so?
If there's a court judgment, was it appealed or?
Yes, despite court verdict, I don't think it was appealed.
If it wasn't appealed, then the customer has every right to go ahead with its option. But if they appeal the court judgment, then I think there's an infraction there. Okay. But my only worry is why would they auction a truck laden with petrol as scrap? Why don't you take the petrol and go and donate to universities now? Look for some universities and give them.
Facing hardship.
Then you can now auction the truck. You can call one of about 3 years close to you, federal universities, and say, come and take free petrol. It will help you aid your operations.
And the Guardian says the governors direct states to join suit against federal government over Naira swap. It's still on the same story we've been discussing since. That is on the Guardian. Governors direct states to join suit against federal government over Naira swap. Don't put down judiciary through criticism. Ulanipekun, Ubani, Amadi cancel Nigerians. Naira scarcity, Tinubu asks CBN on immediate relief for Nigerians. Naira scarcity, Tinubu tax CBN on immediate relief for Nigerians. That's the story on the Guardian newspaper. Guardian also has the same story, just like on the Punch. That can be that immediate deny alleged 2 billion naira presidential vote booster. That is the story of the leading papers today. Now we are going to be talking another leading story quite different from others, and is on our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy says years after, sorry story of building collapse in Nigeria continues. Years after, sorry story of building collapse in Nigeria continues. Regulatory failure emboldens quacks to compromise building codes. Investigation. Years after, sorry story of building collapse in Nigeria continues. A few weeks ago, just about 2 weeks ago, a building collapsed in Guarimpa, where I live, and just up directly almost opposite my house. And I was wondering, in these modern times, why are we still having this issue? And after every building collapse, the government of the day will shout, "Whoa, wow, wow, wow!"
After 1 week, they fizzle out.
Yes, they fizzle out. So there seems no end in sight.
Yes, and more will continue to record more building collapse in Nigeria. because the national economy aptly captured it.
Yes, and
Failure of
has
regulatory
graphic designs
bodies.
of some building collapses.
That one has to do with this, were basically pictures from the earthquake in Turkey.
Okay.
Yes, and the Turkish earthquake, building collapse, has to do with also the quality of the structure.
Oh, you think so? I thought
Yes,
it was
it
the
has been
earthquake that
established that the death, the high toll of in recorded so far and continue to be recorded is as a result of the negligence of regulatory authority, the quality of building. When you are on
Then when the earth caved in,
earthquake plane or area prone to earthquake, buildings are superstructures. That is what is happening in Japan, even China. All their structures are anti-earthquake. The Turkish authority, I don't want to go deviate to that side, but basically let us talk about
Nigeria zone.
the Nigeria. It's unfortunate. This one,
I've
they are
also
even
had
10-story building, 15, 20-story.
Mm.
In Nigeria, 2-story buildings collapsing. That's terrible. What size of iron do they use? What quality of material? 2-story building collapsing. That's when that same contractor, if you attempt.
This one was about 4-story.
Yeah, we've had cases of 2-story building collapsing in this country. So basically, the regulatory authorities are probably working. If they are working, the moment before you start your foundation, they need to be there. In fact, they ought to be there. They need to station somebody to be there permanently until that building is completed. And they will ensure that the building meets all integrity requirements. And after the building must have been completed or finished, the building has to go through integrity test. But here, once you settle, go to the office and settle, nobody comes to your site again. You can go to THISDAY, you go to anywhere they sell building material. Instead of you to use iron 18, you choose to use iron 16. Where you are supposed to use iron 16, you go for iron 12. And with the cost of material now, people are forced to compromise. Let me give you one example. This parapet, the bucket parapet seems to be most expensive. Now people are going for flat parapet. You know what parapet is. You need minimum of iron 12 to do a very good parapet. But today, people are using even iron 8 to do parapet because of cost. They say we put cement, it will stay. People cut corners because the economy doesn't warrant, the state of the economy or inflation doesn't warrant cutting corners in construction. So the Chinese people used to say you cannot carve a rotten wood. This is a case of carving a rotten wood. Regulatory authorities are not up to their games. And I expect it's because punitive action are not being meted. Yes. Because if the president or the governor or the minister of FCT decide to punish the people in charge of supervision, then they will sit up. I learned that the minister ordered for the arrest of some people like that. What about the people, the regulatory authority within the Federal Capital Territory, the FCDA? Yes. There is a supervising unit within the FCDA.
We're told that they actually approved about floors less than one, and the owner decided to go above.
And they were there. The man was pleading.
It's the same story we keep hearing over time.
The same thing in Lagos.
Ikoyi, those days.
Yes. The same thing in Lagos. The same thing as we speak now. Somebody is shortchanging.
Of course, in that Ikoyi zone, the owner actually also died with.
Yes. But after them, a lot of buildings have collapsed. In Port Harcourt, in
Kano, Lagos.
In Kano, in Lagos, in Abuja here. And it's the most embarrassing to see Abuja recording building collapse. Our nation's capital. Because everybody goes to sleep. And that is why this new policy. Now, if you track all these people now and say, okay, give us your bank statement within the last 4 months. If a transfer was made by that engineer or a company to that, it will reflect. And you can see where the new Naira policy will help, because such bribes are given cash and carry. For as long as the government does not take punitive action against itself, more people will die from building collapse, because Nigerians are not ready.
To heed to advice.
Yes. What you need is a carrot and stick approach.
But one begins to wonder: is it that the owners of such buildings they actually want an inferior work, or
You want to make
or
profit.
is the building engineers on site that shortchanges the
Engineers on site.
that shortchanges
Yes,
the owner?
the engineers on site, and even the owners of because there's after making a budget, and you discover that inflation has hit deep. You can say, engineer, find a way out. If the budget for that particular project happens to be 70 million, and suddenly because of inflation, this naira dollar issue, the cost jumped to 100 million. Instead of you to go and look for how you raise 30 million, you will tell the engineer to manage the material. And meanwhile, the engineer on site is also he has been managing to help himself. The corrupt tendency in some of them, not all of them, in some of them, the guy has been managing. Then the owner of the property now say manage again. So because when instead of him to say, sir, we cannot manage, it's better we wait to get the money. But you say, no, I want this project completed so time. Then they start cutting corners. Where superstructure is supposed to have iron 18, even above that, they start cutting corners. Or they'll put 2 iron 18 and put 2 iron 16. These are some of the things now.
So very, very, very unfortunate. Viewers, this is where we come to today's end. Of course, we have actually reviewed the most leading stories on Nigeria's select newspapers this morning. I want to thank you once again, all of us, for your presence today to the program, and for your patience too, for waiting while the engineers worked to put us on air. So, viewers, tomorrow, Valentine's Day is another day, and I remain winning for the weapon. See you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.